In this video, I will show you a small portion of the things a planner can do when planning security lanes for outbound passengers with the Quintiq thin client. I will show you how to import flight schedules, how to define process profiles for a set of passenger flows, how to associate probabilities with alternate flows, how to assign a different process profile to each flight, how to manually decide which facilities to open, and finally, how to use the autoplan functionality as decision support. Dorothy works as a planner in the passenger security department at an airport. Based on the new flight schedule, she's creating the security lane plan. She's already opened the demand planning view in her thin client application, in which she will create the security lane plan. She starts the planning process by creating a planning scenario for the security lane plan. To do that, she selects the Schedule tab in the middle of her screen and right-clicks to set up a new planning scenario. She names a scenario New Planning Scenario and fills in a start date and duration. Based on these details, the end date of the scenario is automatically calculated. Then Dorothy presses OK to create the scenario for her security lane plan. Once Dorothy has set up the planning scenario, she needs to import the new flight schedule from the system. To do that, she selects the Craft tab at the upper left part of her view and right-clicks to import the flight schedule by selecting the Import Craft option. She pulls the newest flight schedule from the OAG repository. Then, the Quintiq solution breaks down the flights based on the selected period and visualizes the flights scheduled for the period of the scenario plan, including the flight number, departure time, date, and passenger total. The Gantt chart displays the same information, which is a set of flights scheduled within the time window of the scenario plan, spread across the timeline. Next to that, above the chart, you will see an empty process profile column in the top list. A process profile defines the flow of passengers from the moment they check in at the airport until the moment of departure. Every flight needs to have a process profile in order to track the passengers of that flight across the airport. The empty profile column tells Dorothy that for the flights in the planning scenario, no profiles are assigned. This means that Dorothy won't know when the passengers will arrive at the security lanes, when she needs to open them, and how many should be opened. She therefore decides to assign profiles to the flights. Dorothy has assigned profiles to the flights before in the Quintiq solution, so there's already a process profile called departure.standard in existence. This is suitable for these kind of flights. She selects the Process Profile tab in the middle of her view in order to check whether this profile still exists. The process includes the following 3 steps: passenger screening, scanning of the boarding pass, and flight departure. Each process is broken down into process relations and details. Process relations define how passengers move from one step to the next and include information about the different routes and walking times. When Dorothy looks at the flight departure in the Process Relation tab, she sees that there are 2 different kinds of passengers expected. 5% are expected to be premium passengers and 95% are expected to be regular passengers. The reason for splitting the passengers into 2 groups is because the premium passengers are allowed to go through the fast track entry, where regular passengers need to take the general entry, as you can see on the left. So, different types of passengers have varying processing duration at the security check. But what do general entry and fast track entry really mean? In the Process Items tab, Dorothy finds the details of the fast track entry and sees that it consists of only 1 lane with an output of 20 passengers per minute. The general entry, however, consists of 12 lanes, each of which can process 10 passengers per minute. So as you can see, different service points or lanes can have different throughput rate. Dorothy's happy to be able to plan with a high level of detail to reflect real case situations in her planning. The next step for Dorothy is to assign a process profile to the corresponding flights. By dragging and dropping the process profile to a flight, this process profile is assigned to the flight. Dorothy would now like to see what assigning this process profile means for passengers waiting at the security lane for the flight. She therefore opens the Demand tab. Here she sees the fast track entry and the general entry security lanes. The orange bars indicate the number of people waiting in line. The grey lines indicate that these security lanes are closed at a certain time. Hence, she sees the number of waiting passengers will increase over time. To decrease the number of waiting passengers, Dorothy already knows by looking at this flight that she only needs to open more security lanes. Before she does so, she needs to assign process profiles to all flights in the demand planning view, so that she can see the full demand for the security lanes for all flights in this scenario. Dorothy selects all flights and assigns them to the same process profile in 1 step by dragging the flights into the profile. Now that all flights have a process profile assigned, Dorothy goes back to Demand Overview again in order to see how many security lanes she should open. The orange bar now shows an overview of all passengers waiting at the security gate for all flights in this scenario. Now it is up to Dorothy to decide which and how many security lanes to open and when. The orange demand bar tells her that between 3:45 and 4 o'clock, 37 passengers will be waiting to be processed. She opens a security lane by right-clicking on the lane in the specific time span and by pressing open. Now, the green bar shows that the 37 passengers will be processed. Dorothy keeps the lane open. The view shows that at 4:15 there will be 119 passengers waiting in the queue who cannot be processed in time with only one security lane open. Dorothy right-clicks on the second grey lane and opens it at 4:15. As the system displays with a 0 in the orange demand bar, this is sufficient to process all of the passengers waiting in time for the flight departure. Opening the lanes manually one by one is a fair bit of work, so Dorothy decides to use the Optimize Process Counters functionality, which determines how many security lanes are needed for each point in time. To activate it, Dorothy clicks on the Optimize Process Counter button to run the optimizer. The view now shows some remaining grey lines. Dorothy also sees that the orange demand bars display 0 across all time spans, meaning all remaining passengers were assigned to security gates without needing to open them all. Dorothy is now very happy with this scenario. I've just shown you how a planner can do security gate planning using the Quintiq Thin Client application. This example demonstrates how you can manage your security lanes in a more efficient way, increasing productivity and ensuring a great passenger experience with one integrated planning platform accommodating powerful optimization capabilities to automate potentially time-consuming manual planning.